Well, this is the one that's 16. That's not right. Let's refresh this view just in case it's cached. Ah, okay. Here's one with a different fee.
That's why I put 150 blocks because they go very fast.
Exactly. Total amount 15. Here we have one transaction.
And it's set as an escrow transaction.
It says it's escrow. So we're going to inspect this transaction ID. And here we have basic information like the sender and receiver. But also we have escrow details. So sender, recipient, and the approver, and the commission, and the timeout on the blocks, and the block height, and the instructions.
Now, this instruction, if or the transaction sent to a person, can include a word in whatever language to explain what the condition for the approval is. But if the transaction is managed by a server, a piece of software, an IoT device, whatever it is, then it can be a JSON file, for example, with us, and the wallet is going to have the UI that generate the correct JSON file. Let's say there is an IoT device that says if the door is open, then pay. If it's closed, then don't pay. To check, for example, did the maid come and clean up the house? And with Bluetooth, we can see the presence in the house. If it's then send the payment or not. This kind of things.
So,
okay,
let's go back to our wallets here.
Okay.
And now it's time for the most exciting part, because I don't think either of us have tested this functionality by hand. Okay, so now what we want to see is if I'm able to use this wallet to see, so there's a task in my tasks list on this wallet. Can you show, for example, do you have a task on your task list?
Let me check.
So this one, I'm going to go back.
My tasks. I don't have any tasks.
Okay, so Roberto, the receiver, doesn't have any tasks.
My tasks. No
The
tasks.
sender doesn't have any tasks. But over here, if I go to my tasks, the approver, the guy who got marked to approver, has a task in his list. And this can give him a nice notification in the future, maybe. So I see the sender address, I see the recipient address, I see the commission that I stand to make. What happens if I click this task? Okay, here we see the full details of this transaction. And I have two options at the bottom, confirm or reject. So now I'm the guy deciding whether this thing goes through or not. The power is in my hands.
Try to reject at this point. I want to see what happened to my transaction list.
Okay, so I do reject, let's say, and of course I have to put in the PIN because otherwise I can't sign any transaction. This rejection is actually
A transaction
of itself.
And it costs one fee. That's why it's important that the commission is at least one fee.
So if everything happened correctly, what should happen is the middle wallet should not have received the new balance, and the leftmost wallet should still have paid 5 coins to the approver, which is my commission for having actually even rejected the transaction, for having participated at all.
So I'm still at 60.
Okay.
And
okay, I've gone to 243. What did I have before? Because I spent...
It's 221 and 85. If I look at my transactions, I see that... no, well, it's minus 15.
You still see? Okay. So, this is another thing we have to work on a little bit in the UI.
My transactions...
This one still sees a plus 15.
That I received 15.
Okay, so that's something that we can work out.
Yeah, exactly. We need to do that, yeah.
This one I'm also a little confused by because I expected to see...
to see your commission coming in.
Yeah, exactly. What happens if I look at my transactions list? Okay, so I had these two transactions. I don't see any transaction history from it here.
Okay, so let's go to our computer and let's check in the Block Explorer.
Let's see what happened. The Block Explorer is the big debugger that everybody is going to use always to see what the hell is going on in this blockchain. So back here we had a block with one fee. This is where I'm picking out where the transaction happened, which when the blocks are full is going to be a little bit trickier. Wait. Oh, these are blocksmith addresses. Okay, this is the block details.
And no transaction.
No transactions. What happened here? What if we go to recent transactions? Do we see any? We see send money, send money, send money.
From which amount?
But we don't see.
They don't say the amount in the transaction.
I don't see right now. But no, in fact, I don't see. It seems like the escrow one has disappeared. So I'm not sure that this is correct behavior. Typically, we would like to see a rejection transaction that came in. In fact, I think. Let's see, is this on the correct? Yeah, because we saw the funds that we were sending before, so this should be on the correct blockchain. This is still the one that we saw a few minutes ago. That's in 60.
Oh, probably the blockchain hasn't processed
Maybe.
which is the time of the last one.
It's been a while. So we should be able to see. But maybe just for fun, maybe we try this process one more time and we see if we can approve an escrow transaction.
Okay, now we go to approve this transaction. So we this time are going to have who is asking, who is giving.
Let's do same because you already have my account for the approver in that.
Okay. So I'm sending from. So this one is gonna send transfer. This one is gonna ask, and it's gonna ask for 60. Okay. This is gonna scan the QR code. Okay. We go in advance. We choose the same approver address. We give this time 3 as commission. Timeout we give 100 blocks.
Okay.
Distraction.
In fact.
Okay. You wanna see that it's waiting the timeout to
In fact, I wonder if that one timed out. But there's no way we'd been 150 blocks.
It has been. Okay, let's go next.
Okay.
So this is the transaction. Confirm.
Okay.
Okay.
Transaction successful. So now I should be able to see a task pretty soon here. It might take it a few seconds to come in.
Here I can look at my tasks in this other one,
Should be
and
done.
nothing is here. I can look at the transaction and I already see the new transaction
So in theory,
for 60.
any second here, I should see this task pop up. in
But
the
my
task
balance
list.
is still 60. So at least under this point we're not.
Here we go. Okay, so now I have the approval. This for 60 ZooBC, status
Okay.
pending. So I'm going to go in here, and this time I want to
Confirm.
confirm. I'm going to put in my PIN code. Okay.
Okay, so at
Let's
this
see a
point my
transaction
balance
success.
should increase. In fact, it's 120 at the
Ah,
speed of
here we go.
light.
So let's see. My balance is also increased. I've gone up. So I paid the fee for the transaction itself, but then
Okay.
I've taken the 3 coins for commission, which has offset me.
So if I look at the transaction here, they are the same.
Okay.
60, I don't see the commission in the transaction though.
Still, I don't see the transaction in my history, the approval button.
So the
We'll still
commission
work
is
on
not
this.
doesn't appear in the transaction, so
Hmm.
we need to fix this thing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the balance went down.
This one should
Okay.
have gone down.
So
by
at this
60.
point, let's go to our computer and see the block explorer.
Let's see what's been happening over here. So we still have. Okay, how recent are these blocks? This is 3:56 p.m. So we had one block that happened here. Okay, let's see. We had one that happened back here where we had a send money. There was escrow. So this is where we sent the transaction, right? And we had one block up here where we see a 1 fee. But if I look here, there's no transaction.
And look up. More. It says total rewards. No, those are just shared reward. Okay. No.
Okay, but there's one place I think I might be able to see.
There is the escrow.
So let's go back to our block that had, where'd it go? Here. Our block that had the transaction, right? Where we have the escrow transaction itself. And so, in fact, this is a feature that the guys added. You see this little plus by the transaction?
You get the details.
If I pop that, there is an approval escrow transaction that's been attached to this one. So in fact, if somebody looked up the previous transaction, they would be able to go and see. And I bet this is where our other one is hiding, if we were to go back and look, which it might be fun to try and find. So if I look at the approval escrow, I can see that the status is approved. This is the transaction ID, and this was the original escrow transaction. It was timeout 100, commission fee 300, blah, blah, blah. So if I go back to my transactions here, let's see, maybe, when were these? This is July 13th, 354. Oh, these are a little bit out of order, I think, because this one's 230, and these are 354. So maybe we need to work on the sorting here a little bit. But yeah, in fact, some of these are from very weird block heights. So this is a little bug in our Explorer. But let's say, so this is the one, 711, I recognize it. This is the one that we just did, and we see the escrow approval. I bet this previous one is the one at 345 we did before that, where we should see escrow rejection, right? Oh, escrow approval it says. But let's see, in this one, this was at 9 a.m. Okay. So what happens if I look at the details here? Okay. So it's the wrong label in the Block Explorer at the table level, but if I go into the details and look at what happened here, this has a status rejection. And I wonder, if I look at the transaction ID itself, it actually has an escrow transaction block. So here I see the original
and the 5 commission fee.
And the 5 commission fee, exactly. So, and I could see the block height where this transaction occurred, which should be, okay, here's another issue. So this transaction was initiated at block height, blah, blah, 261. It lists the escrow also as being at 261, when in fact the escrow transaction came in at another time. So this is another little quirk that we have to work out in our Block Explorer. But
alright, thank God we do this demo live.
Yeah.
Shame ourselves in front of the world. No, just kidding. The wallet is beautiful. The bugging is part of the process of any software implementations. And let's clear, we hired the 2 of us. And let's go back to this. Hey.
So,
okay.
like Roberto was saying, this is part of any software development that ever happens. We're in alpha version, we're trying to prepare for our beta version, so this is something we absolutely expect to happen. There's lots of little glitches and tricks. It's very cool that we got the demo to work at all, which many people who try to pull this thing off don't quite do, especially when they haven't rehearsed carefully, when the technology is in an unstable state. But we're able to send money around with a couple of little glitches. We're able to escrow a transaction with a couple of little glitches. We're able to go and look up in our Block Explorer exactly how that happened. And this is using our mobile wallet, which is at a lower state of development than our web wallet, which we didn't even show you guys, but that's the one where we're even more confident that all of these things work. So far, I think at the very least we got it to work, and you can imagine that when a couple of these things are cleared up a little bit, they're going to work very nicely the way that we expect, and it's going to be quite a nice experience and quite easy to use.
Okay, so we are at the end of today's show. Has been something cool. I will say, look at our ethics and honesty. We took virgin devices, just installed things, didn't prepare anything besides feeding some coins, some accounts, and met all the trouble just to show everybody how we usually work. We work at testing things, fixing bugs. This is 1.5 years of work coming to the point that we can offer it to the public. As Bill Gates showed the new Windows with the blue screen of that to justify a little bit delay. We don't have delay to justify, but we're fixing the last thing, and then we're gonna give to all of you access to ZooBC source code, wallets, and a testnet to that. Start doing a little bit of experiments. See you next Monday.